long as the Arabs fight tribe against tribe, so long will they be a little people, a silly people, greedy, barbarous, and cruel.
Yes, Lawrence of Arabia knew what it was about back in World War I, and the clock has barely ticked in certain parts of the world. All right, I have a lot to get to, having to do with a lot of topics, and the war in the Middle East, in Israel, the assault on Israel is big, and if it's important to know the enemy, and this enemy is our enemy in addition to being the enemy of Israel. Not just genocidal anti-Semites are they. They are also murderous, barbarous little people who, thanks to Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Boltneck John Kerry, they're enriching uranium even as we speak. And if any of you saw the follow-on to the Top Gun movie with Tom Cruise, Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, that movie was all based on the nuclear facilities in Iran, which are burrowed into the sides of mountains and designed to be very difficult for the United States to get to with air power, and very heavily fortified in the surrounding areas. The Iranians, thanks to the funding of and the good graces of Barack Obama and Joe Biden as his vice president, and Boltneck Kerry, who is the failed negotiator in that case, they are enriching uranium as we speak. They are spinning centrifuges as we speak. They're expanding the range of their ballistic missiles as we speak, all allowed by the Obama administration and funded by the Obama administration and the Biden administration. Just a minor point in the scheme of things. They're not on our side. Now, a quick aside here. Who remembers the baseball legend Steve Garvey? Steve, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think he played for the Padres after that. Steve Garvey has joined the race in California to succeed the now late Senator Dianne Feinstein, who had the Chinese spy on her staff for 20 years in San Francisco. And Steve Garvey, baseball great, says that he's jumping in as a Republican in the race for that now vacant Senate seat. Now, the governor there put a woman from Maryland in the Senate seat temporarily. So this Maryland woman is in there. What is she? Is she a threefer? She's the threefer, right? He said he was going to put a black woman in the Senate seat if and when Dianne Feinstein died. And because, qualifications are based on genitalia and melanin levels in American politics when you talk to Democrats. And it turned out she was a hat trick because she's also an LGBTQ QIAA plus # woman. So the governor there, because those are qualifications when you're a Democrat. Not being a patriotic American, a great American, a lawmaker, none of that matters. Just your race, your gender, and your sexual orientation. Those are the important things. Steve Garvey is a straight man. That is to say, he's a heterosexual man. Not that he stands there while people tell jokes at his expense. But Steve Garvey, he is also known for having a number of children under, less than ordinary circumstances. But he is a Republican. He is a baseball legend, and he says he's running as a Republican for the Senate seat in California, and that's a little bit of fun. Let's go to a telephone call. Let's go to, and hanging in there. Let's go to our old pal Perry, who normally calls from Washington, D.C., but today he's calling from Maryland. Perry, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Where you been?
What's up, fella? I've been around, man. Very busy. I've been around.
Yeah?
How you been, man?
I've been good.
The reason why I called, because I had one cable company, right, for my internet and for my television, and I had to drop them because, number one, you have to wait forever to get to somebody. When you get to somebody, you're speaking to somebody way in India somewhere. I have no problem with people from that country having jobs, but it's just very difficult to conduct business. And so this new company has an outlet where if I get over there, then I ask to be transferred to a call center in the United States. They graciously send me over to a call center in the United States. That's one benefit. So while I was scrolling through my new cable lineup, I noticed, I said, that guy's familiar. Then I looked at the description of the channel. It said Newsmax. I said, my goodness, I have Newsmax now. And I was watching the guy's show that comes on at 10 p.m., I believe from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. And it was you sitting there.
It was me sitting there.
That made my day, man, or my evening. I said, I finally have Newsmax because I hear it advertised on WMAL all the time, and I know it's one of the same voices that are available as far as news channels are concerned. And I enjoyed the show. I'm going to peek in on other folks on the lineup and see how they're doing, but I said Chris would get a kick out of that.
Well, that is great. I appreciate that.
In the middle of the panel, and I said, look at him, man. But I said, I don't know how you do it because I said, this guy got to be up early in the morning. Like
that is great.
At night, you know?
That is so great. But I'm really happy to hear that.
I just want to come on the light moment. I just want to come in on the light moment amongst the darkness that's going on. That, congratulations. I'm glad you're on television, so I get to catch you at night, and I get to catch you in the morning.
Well, you're very kind. I appreciate that very much. And honestly, Jeff Wolf is on phones today, and I guess you didn't tell him what you just told him you have a story you want to tell, and we didn't know what your story was. But you're and so you're a friend of the show from our earliest days, from our very first days
time,
in when I was Washington D.C. only. And you're Perry, and we always loved having you call in, and you're great, and I haven't heard from you in a long time. And so you switched cable companies, and now you got Newsmax, and now my show was The Right Squad. It was on 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Now it's on 10 p.m. To 11 p.m. So set your DVRs.
DVR it, because I don't stay up that late. I'll DVR it.
Work.
And I watch it. Yeah, and I'll watch it next morning.
That is great, Perry. You're the best. You're doing well. All is good in your life.
Yes. The work continues in the community, and my family's well. And now I'm all over with these grandchildren. I have an empty nest, but I have grandchildren, so everything's going good.
Wow, that is great. It's great to hear your voice, Perry. Thank you for calling in with that fun story, a Newsmax story. And I didn't even know what Perry was going to say, did I? I didn't know anything. I didn't know what you're going to say.
I set you up. I told him I want to set him up. Don't tell. I said, don't tell him. Just tell him I have a story to tell, man.
That's great, Perry. God bless, grandfather. I can't believe that. That's great stuff. And you ever see me around, you just tap me, and the beers are on me.
Yeah, but, that's why I wanted to go to what's the name in a pint, but I don't drink alcohol. So I said, well, maybe I'll just come in and have a ginger ale in a pint. Politics and the ginger ale. And
you can do that. People do that. That's fine.
Yeah,
Drinking's not for everybody. I understand.
Yeah.
All right,
then, buddy.
Thanks, Perry. That's Perry. That's fun. All right, he wanted to give us a break from the mayhem and the chaos out there, and I appreciate that because there's a lot of it out there, that's for sure. And the latest news of the troglodytes murdering 40 babies, decapitating, cutting them out of the wombs. And, these are the people that, these are real events. These are real people doing these things. These are people that must be hunted and killed because that is your only option. Capturing them and trying to convince them to be good people is not going to work. Let's just say not going to work. That's as generous as it can be. Now let's go to soundbite number 1 because here are the people that we are dealing with in Australia. In front of the Sydney Opera House, the beautiful building, famous building in Sydney, Australia, most famous building in Australia, looks like sails, right? And it's on Sydney Harbor, and it's beautiful. And I've been there. I've been there myself. And the troglodytes were gathering there to express their views. Gas the Jews. They're laughing and they're chanting, "Gas the Jews." Not all of them are laughing. They're angry and vicious. And then they switched out their chant, and we had to bleep part of it because it's the F word. And this is a worldwide crisis because Western civilization has invited people in from all over the world. And Australia made the mistake of inviting these people in, gas the Jews and F the Jews while they're under attack, while babies are being decapitated and grandparents are being murdered and Holocaust survivors and young women are being kidnapped and raped and held hostage, and they're threatening to murder the hostages with the drop of every Israeli bomb. And it is civilization against the opposite of civilization. The troglodytes, the Morlocks, are here, and they are here to murder everyone. We also had in New York City and beyond in the United States, we've had the Democratic Socialists of America. That's Bernie Sanders' political party. And in New York City, in Times Square, they were out there in support of killing all of the Jews. Again, the Democratic Socialists of America, socialists, have murdered more people than any group of murderers ever.
Saturday, October 7th, our resistance stormed illegal settlements and paraglided across colonial borders.
Paraglided across colonial borders. Colonial borders? But what about Moses and Jesus Christ and the obvious historic claim of the Jewish people on that patch of dirt with no oil on the Mediterranean Sea, which you guys turn into a toilet? See the Gaza Strip. But in New York, these people with signs, big cardboard printed signs, professionally made union job signs, declaring that they are the Democratic Socialists of America, they've come out to advocate a genocide of the Jews.
The resistance fires more than 5,000 rockets.
Fired 5,000 rockets on civilian targets, and she's talking about the paragliders flying in, and the troglodytes did paraglide in to an outdoor concert festival where they murdered 260 people at one location. And the reports out of there are gruesome and grim. A young woman, video being grabbed by the troglodytes after her boyfriend was killed, and they raped her on the ground next to the dead body of her boyfriend who they had just murdered. Then they dragged her away, and they have dragged her bloodied and battered and beaten into the Gaza to be held as a hostage, to be sexually abused, and eventually murdered, because that's what these animals, and honestly, I don't mean to insult animals because they're much worse than animals. To the extent that animals kill, they do it to survive. They do it because they have to. These troglodytes are another thing altogether, and it is the Democratic Socialists, the leftists in the United States of America, with their professionally made, union-made signs declaring who they are and who they're with. This is Planet Earth 2023, the troglodytes and the left together again. You know, Joe Biden's plan to inflict the digital dollar on all of us is already underway, and it's very important to understand the potential consequences here because they're not telling us the truth when they say it's in our best interest. Time is of the essence, and getting smart now on this topic is a really good idea. You can help protect your savings and your retirement from the calamity that is the digital dollar by diversifying your retirement with IRAs in gold and silver, precious metals. You get started by calling the experts at American Alternative Assets. Call them today at 888-4GOLD20. That's 888-446-5320. They'll give you all the guidance you need on safeguarding your retirement savings. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Get started by calling 888-4GOLD20. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah. And again, I can't actually apologize for sharing the gruesome details. It's vitally important to share the gruesome details. This is an ongoing genocide, and a great many Democrats, members of the Democrat Party in the United States, are on the side of the murderers, the baby butchers, the Holocaust killers. This is real. And I can't sugarcoat it. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. An Israeli military commander has been killed in combat on their northern border with Lebanon, where Hezbollah, another radical Islamic terrorist army, resides, also funded, fueled, and armed by Iran, with money given to them by Barack Obama and Joe Biden and John Kerry. Joy Behar, so that is potential for another entire front. And, you know, I saw someone today. Wait, I lost my page. I lost my place. What page of Revelations are we on now? Honestly. All right, Joy Behar is a radical left-wing extremist. She's 81 years old, which means she can still run for president as a Democrat. And she is paid millions of dollars by ABC. Her nugget of wisdom this morning is the attack by Hamas and Islamic Jihad on Israel is somehow being orchestrated by Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. She is very severely mentally ill.
I would like to know who's behind this, because it's very interesting.
You would?
That now I would think Putin is sitting back and saying, wow, well, they're going to send their money to Israel.
Leaves us vulnerable,
so maybe they won't send them to Ukraine. They won't send the money to Ukraine now. I'm very suspicious of this. And what did Donald Trump tell Putin when he was in Helsinki? These are questions that need to be answered in this country. I would like to hear the answers to those questions.
I'd like to know where the $6 billion came from.
Yeah, well.
I think Whoopi Goldberg is behind the attack on Israel, honestly. The Washington Post, kind of hiding. Officials say Iran provided Hamas training, weapons. And they have 4 reporters on the story. They used to just have one reporter for a story, one riot, one ranger. The Palestinian militants, they're terrorists, you frauds, at the Washington Post, behind the surprise weekend attack on Israel, began planning the assault at least a year ago, with key support from Iranian allies who are being funded by Obama and Biden, who provided military training and logistical help, as well as tens of millions of dollars for weapons. Yeah, the Washington Post is several days behind, following on the reporting of everybody who doesn't have their head wedged into a dark hole. I just don't have time today with all the troglodytes murdering babies and everything and the Democrats supporting them, but I want to get to that stuff white people do. Is that the website? It's or things white people do, stuff white people do? And there's a funny one, a video now of black people hiking in the woods on hiking trails, making fun of white people. And it's funny. It's a funny thing. And I have a personal story to share on that front too. But I don't think I have time to get to it today. I can try to get to it tomorrow. Let's get back to the Washington Post, which used to be a newspaper, but now it's not. Israel orders full siege of Gaza Strip. The Washington Post is on the side of the Gaza Strip. It's Tragistan. And they have full siege in quotation marks. The subheadline, also in quotation marks, no electricity, no food, no fuel. Well, I guess this is kind of the definition of biting the hand that feeds you, isn't it? Now, you shouldn't attack the people that have the only power plant that feeds electricity to your entire anti-civilization. you morons. But I got another question. So there's no electricity, there is no food, there's no fuel. That means you don't provide your own electricity, you don't provide your own food, and you don't provide your own fuel, and you attack the people that do provide you with electricity, with food, and with fuel. Is that right? Yes, it is. Well, then you're incredibly stupid people. I don't know if people can get any dumber than that, but they're working on it. And the sub-headline, at least 11 Americans dead as overall toll rises. Now, doesn't that warrant a headline all its own? Rather than being the second sub-headline in the Washington Post, 11 Americans murdered in terror attack in Israel, where hundreds and hundreds are murdered and thousands are wounded and untold scores have been taken hostage and are being brutalized. You know, Joe Biden provided Ukraine with cluster bombs. Maybe Joe Biden should provide Israel with cluster bombs, which are anti-personnel munitions that can be dropped from airplanes, fired from helicopters, even artillery pieces. And the cluster munitions would come in very handy, I think, in the Gaza, in Tragistan, to kill all of their children, which is, of course, the in-kind response. Remember when Joe Biden said that if Putin and Russia were using chemical munitions in Ukraine, that he would respond in kind, which means that we would use chemical weapons against them, which we don't do. But he's a moron, and he's the president of the United States. And all the bad guys in the world know that the moron is in charge. And the Washington Post is the perfect paper for Moronville. And they admitted days late in the Washington Post that Iran provided Hamas training and weapons in Tragistan before the attack to murder everybody because Iran is a genocidal death cult, and they are genocidally anti-Semitic, and they're genocidally anti-Western and anti-American. More than the Democrats or less? Well, we could debate that for a semester. Yeah, biting the hand. So you don't have electricity. Well, beep you. Can I just say that? Oh, you don't have food? Well, beep you. And the media, of course, is going to turn. They've already turned on Israel. They've already turned on Netanyahu. They're a hate cult, the left, and they murder more people in the United States than are killed in most war zones. The Democrats do. No electricity, no food, no fuel, says Gallant. That's the Israeli defense minister, Yoav Gallant. He told the Southern Command that there would be a full siege of the densely populated enclave. It's an enclave. It's not really an enclave, you know? An enclave, a place where people have A-frame houses where they go hiking in the woods on weekends. Hey, the waterfall's up here. You know, that's an enclave. This is a beep hole filled with beep faces who need to be being killed with bombs and bullets because they're the troglodytes from hell. No electricity, no food, no fuel. I guess that's bad planning on the part of Hamas. Say, maybe we should have thought this through. Those are the people that give us electricity. Now we don't have any electricity. Oh, gosh, I'm slapping my forehead with the heel of my hand. Why didn't I think about that? I should have thought that through before I murdered all those people and cut the babies out and things like that. They should never have electricity again. Left to their own devices, they wouldn't have electricity. I mean, obviously, now they've been left to their own devices and they have no electricity. And, you know, if the Europeans hadn't, the patriarchy hadn't come in and brought electricity, electricity would not be a norm in that part of the world. Because, just a little bit backward. Man, oh man. Yeah, and the Washington Post is shocked. And it's kind of the bottom of page 1. Oh yeah, by the way, Iran. And they provided the training and weapons to Hamas for this. But the Washington Post is downplaying it with its placement. And they don't want to talk about the fact that the Democrats have been providing tens of billions in funding and allowing the troglodytes in Iran to enrich uranium, build ballistic missiles, spin centrifuges, and murder the world. Your Washington Post. Gas the Jews, they're chanting. Beep the Jews, they're chanting in Sydney, Australia. Western civilization is going to have to take note. Israeli survivors recount terror at music festival where Hamas militants, they're troglodytes, terrorists, killed at least 260. Her name is Noah. Video shows woman being taken by Hamas at Supernova Music Festival, where at least 260 were killed. Rape and dead bodies, another headline. Missing Shani Luke's boyfriend, also feared snatched by Hamas terrorists who raped women beside dead bodies. These people are not fit for prison. They are fit to be thrown into pits after being killed. And this Shani Luke, 22 years old, has not been accounted for since the horrifying footage of her naked body being spat on by militants. Her naked body being spat on by militants. That's the euphemism. They're savages. It's insulting to animals to call them animals, but it will suffice under certain circumstances. And, of course, the violent rapes and torture of the women who were then taken hostage to Gaza so that civilized people have to go in there to root out the savages in an effort to save the women before they're brutally tortured to death. Women have been raped at the area of the rave, meaning the concert, next to their friends' bodies, dead bodies. Tablet magazine has recounted the stories. Now, what is too harsh for these people? Pretty much nothing. Pretty much nothing. And Joy Behar wants to blame Trump and Putin because the Democrat Party is mentally disturbed. Pretty much every Democrat at this point has mental problems with gender, with terrorism, with crime, with the police, with government, with their next-door neighbors. Your Democrat Party. Let's go to soundbite number 10. Benjamin Netanyahu, the brave, strong, fearsome Prime Minister of Israel, and he is a former Israeli commando himself. His brother was murdered by terrorists during the raid on Entebbe, and the Democrat Party is not on his side. They are anti-Benjamin Netanyahu. They are not on the side of civilization. The left, again, gang of murderers. I hate to keep bringing up historical facts. Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday.
We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Once the Jewish people were stateless. Once the Jewish people were defenseless. No longer. Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come.
For decades to come. They have declared they will remember this for decades, for generations. And it is a civilized response to bomb them into dust. My father was a World War II veteran. He died when I was a baby. I grew up on My mother was a child of World War II in the United States of America. I grew up on, my first documentary series was The World at War. Still perhaps the greatest documentary series ever made about World War II and the horrors of World War II. And they used to show The World at War on television when I was a child, and the horrors of World War II. And I was raised and weaned on the horrors of war. Part of my early childhood years might explain a lot. And I am capable of comprehending total war. And when you're dealing with savages, in a circumstance like this, the only option is brutality, total war, total destruction of your enemy, who is relentless in their pursuit of their bloodlust. The Israeli ambassador to Germany is a man named Ron Prosor. Interesting post to hold, no doubt. Ron Prosor also commented on this turn of events.
Saturday, October 7th, is the single most deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. It's a strategy of containment with Islamic jihadists has not worked and will never work. We really have to make sure that the state of Hamas and its military infrastructure is basically taken away.
The infrastructure. That means, again, my American general saying, Gaza is gone. They're going to make it as though Gaza never existed. And let's push them onto the Sinai Peninsula, which belongs to Egypt. I've been on the Sinai Peninsula myself, and it's desert, and they don't have nice Mediterranean waterfront locations, which they currently have. Now they don't have electricity, and they may never have electricity again, which would be good. They may never have clean water again, which would be good. And the Egyptians don't want them. The southern end of the Sinai, southern Israel, the southern end of the Tragistan of the Gaza Strip goes right up against the border with Egypt on the Sinai. And the Egyptians won't let them in. There's a fence there, a barrier, and the troglodytes from Tragistan are not welcome in Egypt, and Egypt will not allow them in, and if they try to cross, you might be shot, because that's how that works. Let's go to Kabul Kirby, because the Washington Post now, on their front page, they've got, hey, officials say Iran provided Hamas training and weapons. Thanks, Scoop. And Kabul Kirby is a propagandist for the Democrats and the Biden White House.
Iran, of course, is complicit in these attacks because of its long-standing support to Hamas and other terrorist networks in the region. That's why we have got more than 400 sanctions against them. That's why we beefed up our presence not only in the Gulf area, but now in the Eastern Mediterranean. We're going to make sure that we can protect our national security interests against what is a growing threat.
Yeah, well, of course, they're obviously, which is why we give them billions and billions of dollars, because I think the Democrats want Israel wiped off the face of the map, so they give their main murderers, protagonists, tens and tens of billions of dollars under Barack Obama, another $6 billion just days ago, thanks to Joe Biden. Of course Iran is involved. Well, then why do you give them all these funds and allow them to spin centrifuges and enrich uranium and advance their ballistic missile program? Why? Whose side are you on? Kabul Kirby, you heard what he just said. Of course they're involved. That was on Fox News yesterday. This morning he was on CNN, and the message seems to have changed.
We haven't seen any direct evidence that Iran participated in these particular attacks. Now, we do know, of course, there's a degree of complicity here, Poppy, because they've been supporting Hamas for years. Tools, training, resourcing, certainly rhetorical support in just the last 24 hours. But no specific evidence that they were participating in this, resourcing this, planning these series of attacks.
No specific evidence that in this particular case, that's the... who are we to judge? And I've got one more wise individual coming up for you. This is war against civilization. It's civilization against the opposite of civilization. It's been the case for a long time. I've described it that way for many years. And the opposite of civilization is back, emboldened, rearmed, funded, thanks to the Democrat Party in Iran, providing the money, the training, the weapons to the genocidal anti-Semite armies of Islam. And Barack Obama and Joe Biden are key to this whole operation. But Joy Behar wants to blame Putin and Trump somehow. Helsinki, they're very severely mentally ill. Stop shooting people. Now, the troglodytes are murdering people. Then they're taking their phones from them, their iPhones or whatever, and they're using their dead bodies to open the phones by using the facial recognition. And then they're making videos of the murdered people and posting the videos on their social media pages, their Facebook pages and their X posts, so that their families can see their butchered and mutilated bodies, lots of mutilated bodies of women and of babies, and the Democrats funded it. That's some pretty gruesome stuff, and they're telling the kids in Israel and the parents to cancel your kids' social media apps because the troglodytes are murdering people and then posting on social media so the people that know them can catch up with it. Dov Hikind is a New York, now former state representative. He is Jewish, and he has some awareness of history.
The scenes that we are seeing, these are the Nazis of 2023, Hamas. And let me tell you something. They will be destroyed this time. There will not be a ceasefire. You need to destroy Hamas. They are an organization. We've watched them over the past couple of days. This is what the Nazis did. No, wait a second. The Nazis hid their slaughter of the Jewish people. Hamas is proud to display. They put out the videos.
Rashida Tlaib and other Democrats in Congress are with them.